You're tuned into the Believe in Bengals show with Solomon Wilcots and Adam Pacman Jones.
Welcome, everyone. The Believe in Bengal podcast delivered by 828 Logistics. Adam Pacman Jones, Solomon Wilcots. And yeah, I'm coming on with a heavy heart today after losing 17-20 to the Dallas Cowboys. Remember last week on this show, I told the playmaker, Michael Irvin, why does everybody hate the Cowboys? Now I know why. Because they win games they got no business winning. And we losing games, Adam, we got no business losing.
Oh, my God. No business losing this game. First of all, and first and foremost, Joe is getting hit way too much. Woo. We got to figure out what's going on, bro. We spent way too much money on the offseason for my boy to be getting hit consecutively like this. This don't make no sense. I don't know what to say. We said go byline. Mr. Brown, he did everything he could do to figure out what we had to do to go byline. We bought the line. These guys got to perform at the end of the day. Joe is getting hit way too much.
Yeah, it's a problem. We're going to talk about it in a minute. I'm going to tell you what bothered me. Here's what bothered me the most. And then there are a lot of things that bother me. And we're going to get to every single one of them. But I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys come out on the field with their backup quarterback in Cooper Rush, backup wide receiver in Noah Brown, backup running back in Tony Pollard. All three of them scored touchdowns on the Bengals. All three of them came out ready to play. The very first series, they go right down the field to score on us with their backups against our starters. Cooper Rush, Noah Brown, the wide receiver, Tony Pollard. They're good football players. I'm giving them credit. But how does their backups beat our starters? Tell me about that.
I'm lost for words, man. And I didn't understand some of the stuff that was going on in the game, but once I went back and looked at the game, I think the game plan was to run at 11 instead of letting him, pin his ears back and have a hell of a day. But now we didn't control none of the offensive line. And I go back, look at targets. I'm like, all right. Is it the targets? I'm like, really, it's not the targets. Hurst had 7 targets. Chase had 9. T. Higgins had 10 targets. Only target problem I had a problem with was Tyler Boyd. Boyd, he only had 2 targets. He need to have way more than 2 targets. Another thing I had a problem with, which I want you to tell me if I'm wrong or right, Solly, because I know that we was behind the chains a little bit, but Joe Mixon only got 19 carries.
Yeah, look, here's the deal. I thought Joe ran the ball well, by the way. He gives us a fighting chance. The problem is Joe constantly has to make people miss in the backfield. I mean, he was nifty and quick on his feet. He's running as good as we've seen him run. But he's having to do too much work behind the line of scrimmage. He should not even be encountered with the first defender until he gets past the line of scrimmage. But we're not clean in our operation up front in any of our blocking schemes. And that's in the run game and that's in the passing game. So we got to get better when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And, look, I want to ask you this. Is this what we're dealing with? Is it a byproduct? And I'm talking about Joe Burrow getting sacked 6 times yesterday against the Dallas Cowboys, 13 times already in 2 games. That's an average of 6.5 sacks per game. He's on pace to be sacked over 110 times for the season. So I want you to help me out with this. Is this a byproduct of just the fact that we've got these offensive linemen need to be better? Is it a product of they need to have better chemistry, or that our communication need to be better up front with the offensive line? Or is it also a part of the quarterback needing to get rid of the ball sooner, maybe processing faster? I want to kind of figure this out, because it makes no sense to come up here every single week and blame the offensive line exclusively. So help me out with this.
All right, this is what I took from it. All right, out of those 6 sacks, Joe did probably hold on the ball 2 of those. So I give 2 of those sacks to Joe. But besides that, the other ones, no, shit. He didn't have a chance to hold on to it. But I went back and thought about how was we successful last year. I know this year we've put a lot of emphasis on the line up front, trying to play power football. Me personally, now that I'm looking at the line, I'm looking back at the last 8-9 games we played. Most of those games we played, 3, spread it out, dink and dunk, and then go for the big shots. I think Zach thought the line would be better, but I think we have to go back. We can't do 5-step drops 100 times this year because right now the line chemistry is not where it needs to be. So I think we need to shorten it up a little bit, quick dinks and dunk, and do some of the things we did last year because the offensive line have not gelled to where they need to be running up under the center or doing 5-step drops 3, 5, 6, 7 times out of a 12 or 14 play series. Now, I'm not blaming the coaches at all, but I will say this. You when you go back and look at the film, you have to figure out what can I do better, first of all, and what can I do to win. What can we do better? First of all, we gotta say what's up front because it starts up front. So you gotta address the line part first. Like you said, Joe is running for dear life and still averaging 3 yards a carry. 90% of the time when they get in the backfield, like you said, he's making 2-3 moves just to get back to the line of scrimmage. So we got to
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
we got to figure out something to slow these guys up front, which I think is spreading out because don't nobody want to play us spread it out with a light box. So we got to put that back in perspective going forward, I think.
Coming up in our final segment, we're going to wear our coach's hat and we're going to tell Cincinnati Bengals fans what we would do to fix this team. If we were the coaches, how would we help them rebound after an 0-2 start? And at that point, I will give you what my fixes are at this point of the season. We're going to take a break. We will be back with more when we come back. It's going to be time for the player of the week or the performer of the week. And of course, that's brought to you by the lovely people at Eli Sports Bar and Grill. We're going to step aside. We'll be back. You're listening and watching the Believe in Bingo podcast delivered by the wonderful people at 828 Logistics. We'll be back in a moment. We are back. Believe in Bingo podcast delivered by 828 Logistics. And Adam, it's time now for our performer of the week brought to you by Eli Sports Bar and Grill. Our performer of the week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys, to me, is a guy who I think is an unsung hero for this team. His leadership and his toughness, I don't care what the scoreboard says, his performance is always a winning one, and that is Cincinnati Bengals interior defensive lineman, defensive tackle, DJ Reader. He was still dominant in this game. PFF, Pro Football Focus, had him as the top-rated run defender for the Cincinnati Bengals defense. He was also the top-rated pass rusher on the defense week 2. So DJ Reader getting his props this week for me.
I totally agree, man. He has done a hell of a job up front and keeping the other guys going. But we need more sacks. Because DJ, he's not really built to get the sacks. He's built to stop the run and free up the guys on the outside. You get what I'm saying? So he's doing a good job of giving them the one-on-ones. We got 1 sack and 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
We got to get more turnovers and more sacks, I should say. But DJ, man, you're doing a hell of a job. Keep doing what you're doing. And, like they say, it's going to turn around. They come in bunches.
I'm going to give you the numbers for DJ Reader, okay? 16 pass rush opportunities, because as you well know, they rotate in their front. He's one of the big guys. He's a space eater, primarily for run defense. But in the pass rush game, he had 2 hits on the quarterback. He had 2 hurries. He had 4 total pressures out of 16 plays. You know what that means? 4 out of 16 represents 25% of the plays. That's a quarter of the plays when he was in there, when they were throwing the football. So he had a 25% win rate when it came to his pass rushing ability. It was the highest grade that you can give a defensive player for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had the number 1 rated pass rush grade. He also had the number 1 rated run defense grade. And here's what he had. Out of 21 plays, run plays, he had 5 stops, and he had basically a 28% positive rate when it came to run defense. In other words, of the plays that he was on the field when they ran the ball, 28% of them received a positive grade. And you and I both know, as an interior defensive lineman, it's really hard to really score a guy, but he's beating his guy 28% of the time. And that's not easy because he's been double teamed a lot of those times as well.
And I totally agree. You know, it's hard for those guys to get the credit that they should get. But like, we had a guy that was really good that wore number 90. What was he? 97 here, I think.
Gino.
Gino. And he reminded me a lot of Gino, you know what I mean, being low to the ground, power. Yeah. Gino was a little bit quicker with his feet, but DJ is special, man. His play speak for itself. He's probably playing as not one of the top 5, I would say, right now, as far as coming in and playing the D tackle position, man. But kudos, man. Kudos to him. But we got to get these other guys get to the quarterback.
Defense did a good job. They held the Dallas Cowboys only 30% conversion rate on third down. The Cowboys 3 of 10 on third down. So our defense was able to get off the field on third down. We got the ball back for our offense, I thought, in some critical moments, particularly at the end of the fourth quarter. Our offense didn't do anything with it. And then when we had to punt it to them, we didn't even get 1 first down in that situation, which meant when we did punt it, they got good field position. And immediately, Cooper Rush, bang, connection with CeeDee Lamb, bam, another connection with Noah Brown, bam, another connection with CeeDee Lamb. And then next thing you know, they line it up to kick a game-winning 50-yard field goal. Had we moved the ball in similar situation, I know our boy, Evan McPherson, the assassin, is going to knock one through for the game winner. It literally came down to that kind of exchange. Give the Bengals a lot of credit for coming back. They were down in this game, and they fought their way back to tie it up all at 17. But we got to continue. We got to find a way to win these close games and not continue to find a way to give it over to the other team, Matt.
I totally agree. We done gave 2 of them away. Preseason is over with, Solly. We need the rest of these.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this wonderful Performer of the Week segment. That's right. DJ Reader, the Cincinnati Bengals Performer of the Week, brought to you by Eli Sports Bar and Grill. We'll be back right here on the Believe in Bengal podcast, delivered by 828 Logistics. Welcome back, everyone, to the Believe in Bengal podcast, delivered by 828 Logistics. Solomon Wilcots, Adam Jones. And right now, Adam, we're joined by one of our favorite Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals radio analyst Dave Lapham joins us on the podcast. Dave, look, I know you're probably a little bit not at your best, just like Adam and I after going down to Dallas yesterday. So help us to understand, what was it like in that building, and what was the energy, and how did it impact the start of the game?
It was loud. There's no question about that. But, one of the big goals that they had was to get off to a fast start. And as we all know, it was just the opposite of that, man. I mean, unbelievable. The first 18 snaps that the Dallas Cowboys took, they traveled 150 yards and scored 14 points. And Bengals found themselves down 17-3 in the first half for the second consecutive week. You keep digging holes like that, it's just it's harder and harder to crawl out of them. The thing that amazes me, guys, the first game, 10 minutes of overtime, a full 10 minutes, 70 minutes plus 60 yesterday, 130 minutes. They have never had a lead in 130 minutes of football. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And with saying that, and still have a chance to win the game at the end of the game. And me and Solomon was talking earlier about a couple of things that we think that we could have did differently as a team. And we won, the long snapper get hurt. So that kind of plays a part in how that game ended. And this week, it just seemed like we haven't had the guys up front yet to mesh together to protect Joe. I know I said 2 of them that I think he held on it a little too long, that he could have got the ball away or thrown the ball away. But the other 4, I don't know if he could have threw the ball away on those.
Yeah, I agree, Adam. I mean, it's one of those things where, as an offensive line, like 5's supposed to be like 1, and when you only have 3 like 1 or 4 like 1, and you got 1 or 2 that ain't, it's not going to work, and they're just not. They're not in a rhythm. They're not cohesive totally yet, and it's a myriad of things too. Like in the first game, Joe got that early pick 6, and then continued the turnover parade, and then there were 5 turnovers in that game, 4 interceptions, and I'm just thinking, he was very, very careful with the football, and there were times definitely where the offensive line just got beaten and need to be better. There were times he might have held the ball a little bit too long, but I'll tell you one thing: they were not going to give up the deep ball, man. They played cover 2 from Jump Street and never got out of it, and said, you're gonna have to run us out of cover 2, and they couldn't get that done. They couldn't, get the line of scrimmage controlled enough to run them out of that cover 2. And they stayed in it all day long, and this is the first time in a long time that I can remember the Bengals went through a game. They did not have one play of 20 yards or more. Their longest completion was 19 yards. Their longest run was 17 yards. Everything was intermediate short. They never really stretched the football field whatsoever.
So, Dave, look, you played on the offensive line, so help us out here. Is this a byproduct of new guys needing more time up front when it comes to the chemistry, when it comes to the communication? You said it was loud in there. And what more can we do? I mean, they're giving us a double-A look. They're mugging us, but we know Michael Parsons is coming off the corner, and we don't even block him. And some of these things, I get the communication, I get the lack of chemistry because we haven't been together for a while. But some of this, we've got to begin to sort of work our way out of it in just some pure common sense. You see Michael Parsons coming off the corner, man, you can't turn him loose on Joe Burrow.
No way. No way. I mean, that guy, you talk about somebody that's a genetic freak, man.
Yeah.
That's a freakazoid. And he's tracking for 34 sacks right now. He's got 2 a game in his first 2 games. And they don't even have him off the edge every time. He comes off the edge left, comes off the edge right.
That's right.
He'll kick inside. He'll rush inside. He'll rush stack behind a 3 technique. He can run sideline to sideline. I mean, he's got unbelievably good speed. I mean, he's something else. And Dan Quinn, when you've got a guy with that kind of talent, and then a coach that wants to utilize that talent in as many different ways as he can, man, that's like peanut butter and jelly. They're good apart, but they're better together, I mean, it's like they got something cooking down there with those two. There's no doubt.
With all that being said, another thing is T-Boyd only got targeted 2 times this week. I was trying to figure that out because with them playing a lot of zone, you would think T-Boyd would be one of the main targets with running some over routes or, running in the zone. It didn't seem like they targeted him that much this week to me.
Yeah, I mean, cover 2, you're right. I mean, Tyler Boyd in the middle of the football field, tight end Hayden Hurst in the middle of the football field. I can remember tight ends in the Bengals past, Bob Trumpy, going all the way back to Bob Trumpy, Rodney Holm, and Dan Ross. When people try to play cover 2, tight ends would destroy it in the middle of the football field. There's no doubt. So, that they're going to have to figure out ways to attack cover 2 because it's happened the first 2 weeks now. Pittsburgh lived in cover 2, and everybody's going to live in cover 2 until you figure out some cover 2 beaters and again, get some kind of a running game, that you're going to be able to run them out of cover 2 and make one of those safeties sink in the box.
Yeah. Cover 2, they're light in the box, right? So you have to be able to run them out of it. Or if you're going to throw them out of it, you got to be able to protect your quarterback long enough to get those verticals, right? Up against those safeties or to get deep into that cover 2 hole. Your protection's got to be able to hold up long enough to be able to stretch the field down there. All right, Dave, tell us about our performer of the week. One of the guys that maybe we should talk about a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, defensive tackle DJ Reader.
Yeah, Solly, I'll tell you what, this guy should have made the Pro Bowl last year, in my opinion. He was as good inside a defensive line player as there was in the National Football League, and he's carrying it over this year. He's been elected captain for a reason. He had 5 unassisted tackles yesterday. He was involved. You run to the ball, good things happen. He ran to the football, get his first fumble recovery of his career, which is hard to imagine. But he came up with that big takeaway. And then also, he's an underrated pass rusher. He had a couple of good rushes inside. Quarterback Cooper Rush got the ball out of his hand pretty quickly on both of them. I know that was probably a little frustrating, but he's a complete football player, and it's important to him. And I'll tell you, every one of his teammates love the guy because of what he brings to the table in all areas.
I think that's good for Cincinnati Bengals fans to know, is because sometimes you can get lost in the middle of that defensive line. This guy's a true leader in the locker room. You know that. Everyone, when he speaks up, everybody's listening, right?
No doubt. He's like E.F. Hutton, man. When DJ Reader speaks, everybody's got their ears perked up and listening to what he's got to say. He knows what he sees. He knows what he's talking about. And he's a gem. There's no doubt. The Cincinnati Bengals got themselves a heck of a signing when they went out and brought him to Cincinnati from the Houston Texans.
Well, there's no doubt. We keep bringing them in here, man. These are fun guys to root for. We're encouraging all Cincinnati Bengals fans to stay on board the bandwagon. It ain't going nowhere. We're going to keep it going. And Dave, thank you for taking the time to join us and shed some light on what's taking place with our team. Welcome back. Believe in Bengal podcast delivered by 828 Logistics. Adam Jones, we're going to put the coach's cap on you. Your team is off to an 0-2 start. What do you say when you walk into the locker room on a Monday when you're facing your team who just was playing in the Super Bowl, and now you get off to this 0-2 start to the season?
You tell them straight up, like, we lost these games in a matter of 6 points. We lost 3 to kick the field goal Pittsburgh week, and they kicked the field goal this week. We just got to get to the details. And mainly, handle the little things. I know the first week it was the long snapper. For me, this week, it was the offensive line. So we got to figure out a way to spread these guys out, put them in the best situation until the line gel together where we can run the ball, 30-plus times. Because we're going to have to be able to run the ball come November and December.
You know what? I'm going to tell my team, hey, guys, we're not bringing in new guys in here. Hey, it's too late for that. We got to win with the guys we got. This is all we got, and it's all we need. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll. As coaches, we're going to help you, okay? And here's what we're doing. We're going to put our quarterback under center. No more of this shotgun on every single play. We're going back under center. You know why? Because we're getting ready to load up and run the ball downhill. No more running out of shotgun. No more running out of spread where we can allow guys to get up the field on us and hit our running back in the backfield. We're going to do a better job of handling the double-A mug blitz where we can bring runners free off the corner like Michael Parsons. And we're going to do a better job of communicating up front on the line and not allowing Michael Parsons to come get a free hit on our quarterback. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get back under center, and we're going to make people play some physical ball. And we're going to do the little things right. Cover, we're going to tackle, we're going to run it, we're going to block it, and we're going to throw it. Who's with me? And at the end of the day, if you get back to doing those things, because a lot of those things I just mentioned, we didn't do against the Dallas Cowboys. And we definitely didn't do that against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's the conversation I'm having with my team. I'm opening up the floor to any questions, too, because if they have any questions, I want to make sure that we leave the room with everything answered.
I like that idea. My question would be, we didn't pound the ball like this. We have never been a pounding team.
Hey, so you spend $70 million on offensive linemen that can't pound it? Yeah, I know you and I come in there every week.
I totally agree.
We come in here every week. Yeah, because
I totally agree. We got to be able to run the ball.
Hey, man.
Period.
And to me, look, you're an old school football guy. I'm an old school football. Whenever I'm looking at a team, and even now when I watch the way the game is played today, whenever I see a quarterback under center, in shotgun constantly, I say, this is not a team that wants to get physical. This is a team that wants to play 7-on-7. They want to throw it all over the yard and have you look pretty while doing it because they're in shotgun. Every team tells you what they want to do. Alignment, assignment, formation, personnel grouping. When you get that quarterback under center, you put a fullback back there. I don't care if he's a tight end. I don't care if he's an extra lineman. But you put him back there and you tilt him one side. They know where you're going. You're going to run to the tilt to the back. But guess what? That guy leading up in there in front of Joe Mixon getting ready to bloody somebody's nose. Quarterback under center buys you a little bit more time because you don't know if the guy's going to stick it in there, pull the ball back out. But when you're in shotgun, everybody can see you just doing this to the guy next to you. And ain't no physical run game in that zone kind of scheme. So, look, I mean, we all know this is a good team, and I'm not redrawing up the Bengals playbook. They have plays like this. You know this. We've seen them get under. We've seen Joe operate under center. But in these first 2 weeks, everything's out of shotgun. All of Joe Mixon's runs are out of shotgun. You ask any running back, they'll tell you, hey, man, put me in the eye. Let's load up this thing and let's get down and dirty and let's come downhill. Did you see the one run that they had when they blocked down, pulled the 2 guards around, and came screaming downhill and run for a touchdown? That's the quarterback was under center. You can't run that play, okay? Crack, sweep. You can't run that out of shotgun. Talk to me now. Talk to me.
You are right.
All right. You see, I'm getting hot and bothered over here.
No, you have a great reason because you're knowledgeable of the game, Solly. And for all the fans out there, what Solly's saying is you give them a different illusion if you're up under the center. When you're in shotgun, there's only 2 things you can do. You know what I mean? If you're up on the center, you can roll, you can fake the handoff, you can bootleg, you can pull it, throw a slant quick. I think if you look at Tulloch, what they did down there this week with the Dolphins, how they had him up on the center, he come back and throw the slant. You know what I mean? He was able to do a lot of things because you got to respect everything when you're up under the center.
Got to respect play action. You got to respect the ball fake. The ball fake buys time for the receiver to get separation from coverage.
And at the end, you got to play it honest too, because if I keep it and he go crash down, he's messed up. And if I hand it off and he stay on me, he messed up again. So it slows the defensive end down to make him say, hold up, do we got the ball? Do we not got the ball? And by the time you say that, you know, you can dink and dunk or do whatever you want to do.
So it helps our offensive line in pass protection is what I'm trying to say. It buys a little bit more time for the offensive lineman to get set in front of the defenders before the defender to say, oh, did the quarterback still has the ball? Did he hand it off? By the time now my tackle is set, now my guard is set, and the protection can hold up. You're helping every phase of your offense, the receivers in terms of separation, and you're helping your offensive lineman in pass protection. And oh, by the way, Joe Mixon ain't getting hit in the backfield. Now, I didn't just reinvent the game. These are tried and true principles that have been with this game for 103 years since the National Football League first lined up and bloody somebody's nose on the other side of the ball. That's how long they've been doing it. This is the 103rd season of the NFL. And this is probably our 100th broadcast of the Believe in Bengal podcast. And we're going to keep this thing going. Adam, it's been a great show. Next week we got them New York Jets. And as last I checked, we owe them one. From last year. We owe the Jets one. He is Adam Pacman Jones. I'm Solomon Wilcots. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on the Believe in Bengal podcast delivered by 828 Logistics.